The storm began with things that seemed insignificant, with moments others would easily overlook. But for Kat, every detail felt like a silent blade cutting into her pride and her sense of being loved. She had never been the kind of person who knew how to suppress herself. Everything in Kat was always direct, sharp, explosive. She loved, hated, hurt, and rebelled in ways she never bothered to hide. But Eva's presence did more than awaken ordinary jealousy. It shattered the safe structure Kat believed she had always held. Each time she saw Eva standing next to Ted, saw his gaze soften, heard the tender tones he used with that girl, Kat felt as if part of her life was being pushed off balance, as if someone quietly pulled the chair from beneath her just when she still believed she sat in an irreplaceable place. When Eva softly called Ted Dad, the word slipped out so naturally, yet what Kat heard was not the intimacy of father and daughter, but a decree stripping her of her own place. She no longer knew whether she was angry at having her father's love stolen away, or because deep within, she had glimpsed a far worse scenario, that everything around her was being rearranged without regard for her feelings, that she was being forced into the role of an outsider in her own family. In Kat's mind, Ted was supposed to be the pillar, the faithful husband to Nicole, the father who protected his children from every fracture. Yet instead of seeing him keep a safe distance, she had to watch him allow a stranger like Leslie and a girl like Eva to step into the center of their private life, taking up time, attention, and emotional space that had once belonged to their existing family. Every time Ted laughed with Eva, placed a hand on her shoulder, looked at her with a mixture of regret and tenderness, it was not, to Kat, the warm image of a man trying to right his past wrongs. It was the most refined act of betrayal. In her mind, there was no room for a touching story of a father losing and then finding his child. She saw only Leslie's game. A woman who knew exactly how to twist the truth, how to weaponize emotion, how to drag a weak-hearted man into a moral debt he could never repay. Kat insisted that if Eva truly were Ted's daughter, everything should have been clear, confronted long ago, not dumped into their lives at the most fragile moment of their family. That obsession grew, corroding her reason, turning scattered doubts into a system of evidence only she could see. She began to connect dots that did not exist, interpreting every gesture, every glance, every half-finished sentence as proof that Leslie was staging an elaborate performance. Every time Ted defended Eva, every time he urged the family to give Eva a chance, every time Nicole tried to remain calm to avoid a war, Kat felt more intensely the sting of betrayal coming from those who were supposed to stand with her. She told herself she was not blindly jealous, that she was protecting the family, protecting Nicole, protecting Ted from an intricate con. But the more she repeated that to herself, the more desperately she craved an absolute truth, something undeniable to prove her emotions were not madness. It was that need for control that drove Kat to a decision from which there would be no return once she crossed the line. One evening, under the pretense of delivering documents, she went to Eva's apartment. On the surface, everything unfolded normally, politely, but inside, her heart beat to the rhythm of a plan calculated down to the smallest detail. Kat moved through Eva's living space with a coldly observant gaze that felt foreign even to herself. A hairbrush on the dressing table appeared as an opportunity, a tool to turn suspicion into proof. The rubber gloves slid silently over her hands, not out of fear of dirt, but because she understood that what she was about to do crossed into the most sensitive territory of ethics and law. She plucked a few strands of hair, carefully sealed them in a small evidence bag, then left with a calm exterior while inside surged the fierce anticipation of someone about to grasp the ultimate answer. When she found Ted's toothbrush in his travel kit at home, Kat felt no guilt, no shame at invading her own father's privacy. She saw it only as a necessary step to protect him from his own weakness. She turned love into a justification for cruelty, turned old wounds into fuel to push past every acceptable boundary. The DNA samples became a treasure in her hands, the confirmation she believed would expose Leslie as a liar, reveal Eva as a constructed tool, and show Ted as a victim who had yet to awaken. The days spent waiting for the results stretched like a taut wire. Kat lived simultaneously inside two possibilities. In one, if Eva truly was not Ted's daughter, Kat would win. She would have the right to demand apologies from everyone who doubted her. In the other, if Eva really was Ted's daughter, all her rage would be rendered meaningless, turning her into a selfish monster. The fear of that second possibility grew so strong that she pushed herself to believe in the first, as a form of self-defense. When the envelope finally appeared in her hands, Kat stared at it as if it were a verdict for the entire family. Her fingers trembled as she tore open the edge, and the words that emerged cut with cold precision exactly the way she wanted. No biological relationship between Ted and Eva. In that moment, instead of shock, a wave of relief swept through her. She felt vindicated, felt that the war she had waged was now grounded in solid proof. In her mind, the result was no mere medical data. It was truth. Proved Leslie was manipulative, proved Eva did not belong to their family. The taste of triumph quickly devoured any lingering discomfort about how that truth had been obtained. Without hesitation, she went to Ted, determined to force him to face it. But in that very step, Kat began to lose what she believed she had been protecting. In his office, when she laid the envelope down as evidence of deceit, Kat expected to see collapse in Ted's eyes, expected him to realize he had been played. Instead, as he looked at the paper, his first reaction was not gratitude but confusion, then anger. For Ted, nothing could justify his daughter secretly taking DNA from him and Eva violating their privacy, degrading their dignity, turning a young woman into the subject of a criminal-style investigation. In Kat's mind, she was exposing a conspiracy. In Ted's eyes, she was crossing every moral boundary. The gap between those two perspectives was too vast, and it snapped the already strained tether of trust between them. Kat stubbornly clung to the belief that Ted's reaction came from his refusal to face the truth. She thought he was shackled by guilt from the past, by Leslie's whispers, by the fragile image of Eva as someone to be protected. She told herself she was the only one brave enough to flip the table, to break the illusion in order to save the family. But the more she insisted on that, the less she saw the side effects. Her actions were driving Ted away from her, forcing Nicole into an impossible position between shielding a daughter spiraling into obsession and preserving a basic sense of respect toward Eva. Nicole found herself trapped, understanding Kat's pain at seeing Ted's affection divided, yet horrified at how far Kat was willing to go, trampling moral boundaries just to prove herself right. In the silence, Nicole began to question whether her own endurance had helped create this, whether her refusal to confront things earlier had made Kat believe anything could be justified in the name of protecting the family. Eva, though not present for the entire confrontation between Kat and Ted, felt the creeping chill in the air. She had stepped into their lives with an emptiness, with questions about her origins, with a longing to be acknowledged not just by words but by genuine acceptance. Her attempts to open her heart had now been twisted into a secret DNA file, into tense arguments, into the burning suspicion in Kat's eyes. Even as Kat brandished the result like a sentence declaring Eva was not Ted's daughter, Eva herself could not be sure what to believe, or whom to believe in this family. She had no way of knowing that another layer of scheme might be wrapped around everything, that it was entirely possible someone had tampered with the results before they ever reached Kat, using Kat's obsession as a weapon. Leslie watched from the outside or from within the shadows of what she knew, and it was there that the story grew more dangerous. If Leslie truly knew the truth about Eva's origins, she would recognize that the result in Kat's hands was flawed. This forced a merciless choice: to stay silent and let Kat burn through her remaining credibility, or to speak up and, in doing so, expose the very secrets she had used to secure her place in Ted's life. Any move would demand a sacrifice. And if there was a third hand involved, someone powerful with motives tied to protecting wealth, image, or destroying Ted, who had manipulated the test, then Kat had become the perfect lever. By believing she was unveiling the truth, She was the one sowing chaos, pushing Ted to doubt his own family, isolating Eva, forcing Nicole into fracture. In this cornered state, each character stood pressed against their own wall. Kat was trapped between the exhilaration of being right and the growing isolation. Swallowing her, Ted was torn between responsibility, guilt, fury over being violated, and deepening suspicion that the world around him was being orchestrated. Nicole was forced to confront whether keeping the peace was truly protecting the family, or whether she needed to draw a hard line even against her own daughter. Eva was pushed into the role of a victim in a power struggle she never chose, left to wonder if she was anything more than a pawn in someone else's emotional and financial war. Leslie, if she was indeed hiding something, now had to decide whether to keep controlling the game or risk losing everything when the truth finally detonated. Above all, that DNA result became the focal point of a multi-layered scheme. Was it the irrefutable truth Kat believed, or just a distorted fragment engineered by someone who understood how to exploit her volatility and wounds? If it was false, then whoever pulled the strings had not only trapped Eva, but also Kat, turning her into the destroyer of relationships, weakening Ted, splitting the family, and creating the perfect opening to move in. Every negative reaction, every choice made in anger, every boundary Kat crossed was no longer just personal tragedy, but ammunition in a larger war for power, where love was nothing more than camouflage for ambition and long-nursed resentment. From the moment Kat chose to place absolute faith in that envelope, she no longer controlled the narrative the way she believed. She had become a crucial piece on the chessboard for those standing beyond the frame, quietly profiting as this family tore itself apart. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. All the content I make is just speculation and personal sharing. If you find the video interesting and useful, please support me with a like and leave a comment. If you have better ideas or more interesting speculations, please share them in the comments section for everyone to discuss. I appreciate all your contributions and support. Sincerely, thank you.